Hey everybody, we are back on 9.4. We're going to take 2 days in this, so I have 9.4 day 2, part 1 today, and then you'll have part 2 tomorrow. And then we're looking at, so that will be Tuesday, Wednesday, and then on Thursday we'll have a review, extra practice type deal. Then on Friday is maybe a quiz. I'm not really sure. Friday is the last day of graded work though, so it would be due by 11:59 on Friday. Okay, so today is more or less an extension off of last week. We're doing the same things. Factor everything we can and cancel. But now, instead of just having one expression in the numerator and one in the denominator, now we're going to be multiplying two different expressions. So we're going to have four things to factor as opposed to two. Okay, to start off though, let's look at this example right here. If we're just multiplying two fractions, well, I can't reduce 6 and 5. I can't reduce 10 and 3. So what I could do is just go 6 times 10 is 60. 5 times 3 is 15. 60 over 15. Well, those are big numbers. I'm not really used to working with those as much, but they reduce down to 4. An easier way to do this, I hope some of you recognize this, say, well, Mr. Adler, you could have just been smart here and said, well, 6 and 3, that reduces to 2 over 1. 10 and 5 reduces to 2 and 1. And now 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1, and your answer is 4. Yeah, that's what I want us to do. So that just goes to show you that if we want, let me back this whole train up, we don't have to reduce blue and blue. We can do the green one on top with either on bottom. So we can do 6 and 5 or 6 and 3. We all know that already. That's algebra 1, maybe even pre-algebra stuff. But let's hop into the first example. So number 1 is 25y over 12x times 9x to the third over 15xy squared. Well, my directions say factor, then cancel, factor, cancel. All of these things only have one term, so I can't really factor anything. But what I can do is try to cancel things out. So yeah, just like before, I could do 25 times 9 and get, what would that even be, 225? But it's going to be a lot easier to say, well, 25 and 15, that reduces to 5 and 3. 9 and 12, I can divide both those by 3 and get, well, 9 divided by 3 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Well, now I can even take it a step further because I have a 3 on top and a 3 on bottom. So I have boom, boom. Can't those just go by? They sure can. I'll actually cross them off with a marker, not the highlighter. So now I'm left with on top 5. I have an x to the third. I have a y. On bottom, there's a 4. There's an x here and an x here, so that would be x squared and a y squared. Now I just got to ask myself, what can I reduce 5 and 4? Well, no, because I already went through and reduced my numbers, 5 and 4. For my x's, which is bigger, top or bottom? Top is bigger. By how many? 1. For my y's, which is bigger, top or bottom? Well, the bottom's bigger. By how many? Just 1. Okay, on to number 2. So, moving back, 5x over 4y is your final answer. Okay, now for the next one, factor, cancel. Well, I can't factor the top left. It's already factored. I can't factor the bottom left. It's just a number. Top right is one term. Bottom right is already factored. So, let's just try to cancel things out now. The first thing I hope you noticed is, hey, r plus 2, r plus 2. Well, guess what? Bye. They're gone. Let's keep going now. Well, 6 and 12, that reduces to 1 and 2. Now, the 4, you can cancel with 4 and 2 if you want, or you can do 4 and 20, whatever your little heart desires. Let's do 4 and 20 just because they're bigger numbers. So 4 and 20 reduces to 1 and 20 divided by 4 is 5. So now let's multiply across. Up top, I'm going to highlight what I have left just so it gets a little messy. I have a 1, an r. On bottom, I have a 5 and a 2. So 1 times 1 times r is just r. 5 times 2, 10. r over 10. Final answer. On to number 3. Number 3, this looks like a little more familiar. This is stuff that we can actually factor now. So in number 3, what I'm going to encourage you to do whenever you have something like this is just rewrite the problem like with 4 spaces. So Instead of saying upper left, top left, I'm going to say, well, the yellow one or the black one or the blue one or the red one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rewrite two fractions. And then I'm going to look at, okay, which one of these can I not factor? Well, yellow, x plus 7, I can't factor that because it's two terms that there's no GCF. Same with the bottom right, the red one, x minus 8. But now let's look at the blue one, x squared minus 3x minus 40. So I'm looking for numbers that multiply to negative 40 and add to negative 3. Well, you should say that's x minus 8 and x plus 5. I was talking slow, hoping that some people would kind of fill in the blanks for themselves. So this is going to be x minus 8 times x plus 5. Now let's look at the bottom left, the black one, 7x plus 35. Does that have a GCF? Yes, it does. It has a 7. Now what goes in parentheses? X plus 35 divided by 7 is 5. Okay, so now I look for things. Hey, what's on the top? What's on the bottom? Well, I have x plus 5, x plus 5. Now, one thing you might be asking is, well, Mr. Adler, you have an x minus 8 on top in parentheses. This one doesn't have parentheses. So can I just add parentheses around this one term? Yeah, since it's the only term in the original, you can just slap some parentheses around that. That's fine. Now, do those two look the same? Well, yeah, they do. So they cancel. Now, some of you might be saying, well, I have a 7 here and a 7 here. I can cancel those. No, you can't. We can only cancel when we're multiplying terms. And I'm not multiplying this 7 by anything. So I could add parentheses around this whole term, but I can't just add them around the 7, if that makes sense. So what's left on the top? X plus 7. What's left on the bottom? 7. X plus 7 over 7 is your final answer. And again, you cannot reduce those 7s. Okay, last one. If you want, you can pause the video and try it yourself. Otherwise, I will do it in a little bit as soon as I'm done putting my fancy dots around each problem. Okay, so again, the first step, I would just rewrite two fraction bars. I would say boom, boom, boom. And then in each numerator and denominator, in all four spots, I'm going to write out the factored form of each. So which one can you not factor? Hopefully you realize that you can't factor the purple one, m plus 1. So now what can you factor? Well, let's look at green. Let's go around the clock. Bottom left is green, so 3m minus 15. What can you factor out there? Well, GCF is 3, and then you're left with m minus 5. Okay, now let's do the upper right. Okay, I have 8m minus 80. Hopefully you see that you can take an 8 out of both of those. So we have 8 times m minus 10. Now on the bottom right, now this is a trinomial with the a value of 1. So I'm just going to use general factoring. So numbers that multiply to negative 10 and add to negative 9 would be m minus 10 and m plus 1. Okay, now I factored everything. Factor, cancel. Factor, cancel. What looks the same on top and bottom? Well, pick a different color to cross off. What color do we want to cross off? We'll go brown. So, m minus 10, m minus 10. Bye-bye. Now, again, you can actually add parentheses around the entire thing. You couldn't do this. You can't just add parentheses around one term and put them where you want, but you can put them around the entire thing. So now I have m plus 1, m plus 1. What's left on top? 8. What's left on bottom? 3 times m minus 5. Boom. Final answer. Okay. Hope you understand the lesson today. If you have any questions,